If you've lowered your car by fitting coilovers or lowering springs, then it probably looks a lot better, but you could have compromised the handling and introduced extremely uneven tyre wear. So, this time on Road and Race, the 3 car lowering problems nobody tells you about. In the last video in this series, I fitted lowering springs to my 350Z.
I was initially very happy with them.
The car looked much better lower, and due to the slightly stiffer springs, the car felt sharper on the road.
The problems became apparent after I took this car on track. Strangely, for a lowered car, it had more roll now. And worse was what happened to my tyres.
I like running Kumo's PS91 tyres as they work very well on both road and track.
On the road, these tyres are quiet and very good in the wet. At the track, they're very consistent and predictable. But more importantly, for a summer tyre, they've always had very good even wear.
Here's what the rear passenger side tyre looked like after just a few laps. Yes, it's completely worn on the inner edge.
Why was I getting these problems? Here's why.
Problem 1. Uneven tyre wear.
If you lower your car and do nothing else, you essentially introduce more negative camber to your wheels. So they go from something like that, where they're kind of almost straight up, to kind of facing inwards like that.
Here's a very simplified drawing to explain it. This is the car before lowering. As you can see, the tyre in this example is square to the road, giving even tyre wear when driving in a straight line. If you shorten the strut, shown here in red, by fitting shorter springs or coilovers, then you can see the wheel now has a smaller contact patch with the road. This is because you've made one element of the suspension shorter, but changed nothing else. And as the rest of the suspension is fixed, everything has rotated, thus causing the camber of the wheel to become negative and point inwards.
Whilst this additional camber can be very useful in race cars as it gives more grip in the corners, for your everyday road car, you'll just end up wearing the inside edge of your tyre out.
There was 3mm of tyre tread left on this tyre before I lowered it. After the track day, the outside had 2.2mm left, the middle 1.6mm, but the inside had worn down to just 0.7mm.
In the UK, the minimum tyre tread depth is 1.6mm, but you should consider changing your tyres after they get below 3mm, because wet braking performance reduces rapidly below this amount.
Problem 2. Lowering actually increases body roll.
I bet you're thinking, what? Nah, everyone knows that by lowering your car you lower the centre of gravity, thus reducing body roll. Well, if you just lower your car but don't take into account any other aspect of your suspension, you actually increase body roll. Here's why.
Here's the before picture again, and I've drawn blue lines from both control arms and the centre of the tyre. Where the tyre line crosses the centre of the car, you have the roll centre. Also on that line, you have the car's centre of gravity. The distance between those 2 points is called the roll moment, and this should be as small as possible. So here's what happens when you just lower your car. The control arms move up, which in turn lowers the roll centre, increasing the roll moment and giving more body roll.
Let me demonstrate with this pencil. If your roll centre is here and your centre of gravity is here and you push, you get a small amount of movement. If you move your roll centre down and push with the same amount of force, you get more roll.
Problem 3. Poor handling and grip due to changes in wheel toe.
Again, when you lower your car, it can cause the wheels to face in a slightly different direction. Generally, you want your wheels kind of facing almost forward, maybe a little bit of toe in, but when you lower your car, that can cause them to toe more in or even toe out.
How to fix these problems?
So how to get your suspension back in spec? Well, luckily, the toe problem is easy to fix. All your wheels will have adjustable toe arms, and so that's just a simple matter of taking to a shop for a new alignment.
So here's the printout I got from the garage after they performed the wheel alignment. Yes, it does look like a lot of random numbers, doesn't it? Let me break it down. To start, let's just look at wheel toe. This is basically how much the wheels face the direction of the centre line of the car. The figures here are in degrees and minutes. Like a clock, minutes go from 0 to 60, so 30 minutes is half a degree. Just after lowering the car, the front left tyre was at -1 minute of tow, so basically facing out a little, and the right tyre was positive 12 minutes, so facing in. After the alignment, they were both back facing in a little at positive 3 and 8 minutes. Let's now look at the camber at the rear of the car. Just after lowering, the rear wheels were at about 2.5 and 2.25 degrees of negative camber. That's 2 degrees 34 minutes and 2 degrees 17 minutes respectively. Nissan recommends no more than 2 degrees of rear negative camber. After the alignment, you can see the garage has tried to even things up a bit by giving both wheels 2.5 degrees of negative camber. My 350Z suspension has a small amount of camber adjustment possible from the factory on the rear, but clearly not enough to get it back into spec.
To fix the roll centre and the camber problems can get expensive. Most cars don't have adjustable suspension, so you're looking at the aftermarket for parts to correct this, such as a roll centre correction kit or adjustable camber arms. Just something to bear in mind when you're lowering your car. It's not just the price of the lowering parts, it's all the cost of stuff you need to buy to fix all the suspension, alignment and geometry problems afterwards. In a future video, I'm going to be buying all these parts and fitting them to this 350Z and then getting them set up by a professional suspension expert. So stay tuned for that. If you'd like to see more videos on me repairing and modifying this 350Z, then click the top box. And if you'd like to see me and my friend Gary taking a Renault Clio and stripping it out and making it a dedicated track car, that playlist is down here. Links to follow me on social media for bonus content are in the description box. And as always, thanks for watching.